Welcome to this week's video where I discuss what I believe is important for individual investors to think about over the next 5 to 10 business days before they make their investment decisions. Today we're going to talk about inflation. US inflation came in a little hotter than many expected. We're going to talk about corporate earnings. Earnings season's about to kick off. And lastly, COVID anxiety. We're seeing COVID case numbers rise pretty much right around the globe again. How can this affect the markets, and will it affect the markets going forward? Recently, we've received some really hot inflation numbers out of the US. We're seeing inflation tick up well above 5%. I believe the Federal Reserve is actually starting to take notice to this number. For quite a while now, the Fed has said that inflation was transitory, that it was something that would be temporary and start to dissipate over time. Well, I think the Fed is starting to take notice and perhaps start to think about tapering some of the bond buying it has done over the past few years. So going forward, understand that the Fed will be talking quite frequently about inflation and what they're going to do with interest rates. This will affect the stock market, unfortunately, in a negative way. However, look for the Fed to say interest rates will not rise until 2023. Corporations out of the US have begun to report earnings. We've seen the largest banks in the United States report what I believe are fantastic earnings. Yet the stock market didn't respect that. In fact, investors actually sold off on the numbers. I believe going forward that these numbers will continue to be quite good. We're going to see other corporations report over the next few weeks in different sectors, technology, retail, etc. Look for these numbers to be strong, but yet not as strong as in the first quarter. We saw banks in the US report great earnings, as I said, but not as good as the first quarter. And that lends itself to the theory, did we see peak earnings in the first quarter? Many people believe that was the case. So going forward, let's see what the big tech names especially will report over the next week or so. Will they report just as good or better earnings than they reported in the first quarter? And we'll see how this will affect the stock market as well. We've seen a lot more COVID anxiety over the past few weeks with a number of, countries and individual states in the United States reporting a lot higher case counts. This has actually, at times, caused the market to pull back. We've seen what we call the reopening trade for quite some time now, and it's given a lot of strength to the markets in general. Again, going forward, will these case numbers continue to rise? Will the market continue to have this anxiety or anxious moments and sell off at times? I think individual investors need to keep an eye on this. If we do see case counts start to diminish in the United States and in other places around the world, I think the market will like that and reward investors by moving higher.